So today I'm going to be doing the hanger lab with sound waves, and the first step is to take the metal hanger and tie the string around it, and here's my string. So what I'm going to do first is, I'm going to see what it sounds like without banging it, without putting in my ears. So it's just kind of a sharp clanking sound. And so when I put it to my ears, I hear kind of like a hollow ring, and it's really deep. It's kind of like an organ or something. And this is with the string, and next I'm going to try it with the metal spoon. And I mean, this is like a plastic table, but on it, it just sounds like clanking. If I put it to my ears, I hear like a sharp ringing noise. Okay, so next with the metal spoon, I actually have a fork because I couldn't find, or the plastic spoon, and I have a plastic fork instead, but I think they'll be the same since it's made of the same material. And when you just clink it normally, it's not as loud as the metal spoon. It's really damp. And so I actually don't hear anything at all with the plastic spoon. So next we have the yarn, and the yarn with the metal hanger. It's still the same ringing sound, the deep ringing sound, but it's not as much, it's not as loud, and that's probably because the yarn is not as dense. So we're going to try the same thing with the metal spoon. Yeah, again, it's still the same higher pitched ringing sound as the first with the string, but it's still not as loud as using the string. And so finally with the plastic fork, I honestly don't think I'll be able to hear anything with this one. Yeah, I don't hear anything. Okay, and finally, we're going to be using the wire. So it's a lot louder than the yarn, and it's a little bit louder than the string, I think. Yeah, the ringing is more notable than the string. So now with the spoon. Yeah, it's just like the first one. The clanging it's still kind of the same ringing noise, but it's definitely a little bit louder. And finally with the fork. Yeah, I still can't hear anything. And since I did my observations as I went along the lab, I'm not going to include a data table because I already said all my observations and my results. So here's my data table. I just made a really quick one because I explained all my observations during the lab. But like I said, wire was louder than string and yarn, while string was louder than yarn, and yarn was the quietest. And the hanger, for the most part, produced a deep, mellow ringing noise. The metal spoon produced a sharp ringing noise, and the plastic spoon produced no noise at all for all three. And based on my data, I can conclude that the wire evidently had the loudest ring of them all, because since wire is denser, it is easier for sound waves to pass through denser objects with compact molecules. Since the closer the molecules, the easier it is to pass the vibrations. Since yarn is made loosely, it was not as dense as the string, which is woven tightly together. Since this hanger had a lower and mellower tone, it had a lower frequency than the metal spoon, which produced a sharp ringing sound, and the plastic fork didn't generate enough vibration for me to hear. Some control variables that need to be the same every time the material changes are the hanger, the metal spoon, and the plastic spoon. They should be the same because different materials can produce different noises, which in turn may be mistaken for a lower or higher intensity than it should have. And as previously mentioned in the procedure, the force should remain the same. It should remain constant because a greater force would lead to a greater noise produced. And the table should be kept the same since some countertops will produce different sounds. For instance, my plastic table would have a much different sound than my wooden dinner table, and that could also be mistaken for a different intensity. And in conclusion, this lab demonstrated the various ways sound waves can pass through various mediums, and by observing the sound produced by each material, I was able to reason why some materials made the banging noise louder than others. Since wire was the loudest, I could reason that wire was the densest material, so sound waves could travel easiest through it. Since yarn is the least dense and loosely woven, I knew that it was harder for the sound waves to travel through. The different frequencies were also observed with the various pitches of the materials. So the hanger had the deepest ring and it was lowest frequency, and the metal spoon had the higher pitch ring. The plastic spoon couldn't be heard at all, so I'm just assuming that the sound waves were too weak.